Welcome to the Cabral Concept, where board-certified naturopath and integrative health practitioner Dr. Stephen Cabral shares how he was diagnosed at the age of 17 with a life-altering illness and given no hope for recovery. It was only after studying and traveling all over the world did he discover how to combine ancient Ayurvedic healing practices with state-of-the-art naturopathic and functional medicine to fully rebalance the body and re-energize it with life. It's time to discover how to get well, lose weight, and finally feel alive again. And now, here's your host, Dr. Stephen Cabral.
Hi, everyone. Happy weekend if you're here listening on Saturday. Love being able to connect with you on the weekends. Yes, this is a 7-day-a-week show. If you're new to the show, welcome. We're happy to have you. We love having you as a part of the community. If you haven't already joined over at cabralsupportgroup.com, please do feel free to do that. It is a completely free health coaching support group. We answer questions there on a daily basis. And then on the weekends, I answer those questions that have been submitted to Ask Cabral. We've been doing this now for many years. A great pleasure of mine is to be able to check in with the community and actually be able to answer your questions for about 3 or 4 minutes for each question, live right here on the podcast. I never know what the questions are before I open up the document of the day. I'm actually opening that up right now. And then we get started. We answer 6 questions in the order that they've come in. And typically we always get to 6. If they're long questions, sometimes 5. The first questions though today are coming in from May 24th. We are about 2 months after that exact. It is July 24th, which means we're 8 weeks behind. Seems to be about typical. We've been getting a lot more questions lately that might start to increase. So again, if it's customer service based, feel free to just email support@equa.life. They'll take care of you, of course, for any orders or shipping or anything like that. I can't help with that. Again, I won't even see your question for 2 months later. And for daily Q&A, I would ask, don't ask in both places. I would just ask in cabralsupportgroup.com. And of course, I still always am happy to answer your question. And if you want me to be the one to answer it and you don't mind waiting the 8 weeks, I'm happy to do that for sure. So thank you again for tuning into the show. I know we have a lot of IHPs that tune in on the weekend that try to come up with the answer before I give my answer, which I love. So please do continue with that as to how you would answer this if you're an IHP or studying to become an integrative health practitioner, and then pause it, write down your answer, think it out, and then of course, listen to mine. Mine does not have to be the only answer, but this is off the cuff. This is me without knowing your whole background, answering your question. All right, so let's dive right into today's questions. First one's from Hunter. Hunter says, "Hi Doc, I've been following you for over 2 years now, starting with the Dr. Cabral Detox, and I'm grateful for the knowledge and products you and your team provide. My question, I was diagnosed with vasodilation and vasomotor in 2017. I'm 42 years old. I'm a male, but it really started in 2005. I used to drink a considerable amount of alcohol then, but I've made huge lifestyle changes since. Blood pressure has always been good. I eat about 80% healthy and alcohol is close to none. My ears are always red, and sometimes out of nowhere, one ear in one spot will get red and hot, and then it spreads the rest of the ear. If I rub them, it could also trigger it. A decade ago is when the redness showed up on my face, especially if I'm having anxiety. Face and ears flush, blood feels like it's boiling, hands, upper arms, body also. I'm always warm. If I work out in the morning, I get flushed, stay hot, red. Let's see, in the evening, that's when they stay red. In the summer, I have to always have the air conditioning on. Heat is up 10 times worse for me. My chiropractor says it could be hormonal, or is it the gut or nervous system? I trust your knowledge. Any help with this is appreciated. Keep up the fantastic work. All right, Hunter, thanks for the question, and I'm happy to help you with this. Oftentimes when we see these red ears, right, or red cheeks, or we get flushed, it has to do with a cytokine or histamine-based response. Now, the histamine-based response may have to do with potential gut-based issues or higher levels of stress hormones. So you mentioned, is it hormonal? Is it nervous system? Is it gut? Well, it could be all 3 of those. We don't actually know. But what we do know is that the nervous system affects the stress hormones, which can affect the gut, which can then affect histamine. How would that happen? Well, think about this. If we produce greater amounts of norepinephrine, stress hormone, and cortisol, we can start to increase gut permeability. If we increase gut permeability, we allow more bacteria into the bloodstream, causing an imbalance in the immune system, right? We increase the immune sensitivity because the heightened response is now all around in the body. And we most likely have damaged the gut lining, and we're producing less diamine oxidase, which are the enzymes that are produced to help degrade histamine. So I don't know your history, but you might have damaged your gut from all the alcohol use. That's very possible. You might have taken antibiotics around 2005 or so, and that has caused a lot of these issues. So what I recommend for you, Hunter, is running the Big Five if possible. At least I would run the starter kit, that's for sure, to look at your Candida metabolic and vitamins test and then your HTMA, so basically your minerals and metals test. That would be the minimum. Ideally, the Big Five. Add the stool test if you're able to, if finances aren't an issue there. And if not, the starter kit will give you the best place to get started. Let's say you can't afford labs. All right. Well, we might want to begin. Again, I can't give you medical advice. I'm not giving you medical advice. I'm not giving you a treatment plan. I'm not giving you a cure. We don't do any of those things in the podcast. No diagnosing, right? So, well, let's say you can't run the lab and you think you might have digestive issues. Well, what we may want to do is run something like the CBO protocol. All right. A lot to get started with, a lot to think about. Go back and listen to my previous shows on histamines as well. Annalise is up next. Hi, Dr. Cabral. I know you've spoken numerous times in regards to hormonal acne, but I want to write in for help possibly identifying my underlying cause, or at least point me in the right direction. I've suffered from hormonal cystic acne since the age of 12. I only break out on my cheeks, but primarily on my left cheek. Currently on spironolactone and birth control to help control it, but still have acne. A couple of years ago, got off my medications, started breaking out severely underneath my jawline, on my cheeks. I waited several years to see if it would clear up. It didn't. My plan is to get off medication. Let's see what else. Could it be related to constant bloating from the time I wake up? I also have a white layer on my tongue. I do have a gluten, egg, dairy, and almond sensitivity. Otherwise, my labs are all within range with the exception of T3 uptake being 21. My skin was best when I was vegan, but felt it was nutrient deficient and living with brain fog. How can I treat the underlying cause of my acne? Thank you for all you do. All right. So acne has multiple reasons. Intestinal permeability is a big one, right? Food sensitivity is another big one. Stress is a huge one because it's causing estrogen dominance, which could be your particular issue. So we have bacterial base, we've got the gut, we've got stress. Those are just two, but let's go with those two. So, I mean, if you have bloating, I don't know what labs you ran, but I mean, I would make sure we get that checked. So let's say you ran your food sensitivity. Great. Cross that off the list. Let's run the Candida metabolic and vitamins test. Okay, let's look for yeast there. Let's also run the bacteria and parasite stool test. Okay, we want to check those out. Now, the third lab I would run is the stress, mood, and metabolism test. Run it to look at your cortisol levels. Run it if you are getting a cycle around day 21, 19, 20, or 21 of your cycle to look for estrogen dominance. It sounds to me like you may have, again, no diagnosis here, intestinal permeability, gut-based issues like SIBO, right? In conjunction with estrogen dominance. If you find that out, you know what the underlying root causes are, you know how to fix them. All right? Ryan is up next. Hi, Dr. Cabral. This may be out of your scope of practice, but I was wondering if you have any advice for bicuspid aortic valve. I'm 30 and I had my heart checked out due to anxiety, and they found that two of the valves of my aorta are fused together from birth. This is causing leakage because the valve can't close all the way, as well as stress to my aorta. I'm so grateful I got it checked out because I guess only 1% of the population has this, and it isn't something you feel unless it gets really bad. Any advice on how to keep the leakage to a minimum and limit the aorta from getting any larger? Any supplements or foods that would be great, or even things to avoid? Thanks for all your time. Okay, so I actually had a friend and private wellness client of mine who was in his late 60s when I started working with them. Great guy, basically like a mentor to me. I was in my late 20s, early 30s. And anyway, great guy. So he had this. This is congenital, right? So it means you were born with it. Didn't do anything wrong. It happens. 1 out of 100, right? So what can we do? Well, there's still a lot we can do. So what we can control is what we can control. And there's two main things that I try to control with this particular private wellness client, friend, and for you as well. So we're looking at inflammation, right? Really, really important. And we are looking at maintaining free radical damage. So like not increasing that. Okay. So let me break those down a little bit. So inflammation is going to come from any stressor in the body, right? We think of it as like, oh, it's the food we put in. Sure. Food we put in, or stress hormones, or any type of major stress, right? So inflammation, and then we have free radical damage, which is basically also inflammation. So what are we trying to do? We're trying to control inflammation. So again, I can't give you a diagnosis, a medical treatment plan. We're not doing that, right? But if it were me and I had this issue, I would be on a Mediterranean diet. I would be using something like the Daily Foundational Protocol level 2 or level 3, getting in my good omegas, getting in my daily fruit and vegetable blend, getting in all my B vitamins, making sure that I maintain all my levels to help combat free radical damage. That's what I would do, okay? That's where I would do, that's where I would start. I would do exercise. I wouldn't just do strength training, but I would actually be doing cardiovascular work as well, aerobic. I would not overdo those, okay? I would also make sure I'm getting my 8 hours of sleep a night on average. I would be meditating to reduce stress hormone levels and inflammation. All right. So hopefully that's helpful. Basically, if you read my book, The Rain Barrel Effect, it goes through the diet, the exercise, all those different things to be able to maintain and become even healthier. So Ryan, keep on keeping on. And the truth is this, that you'll be able to go on and live a long, healthy life with or without this, right? So you'll be able to. Okay. Fred's up next. Hello, Dr. Cabral. I just listened to your Friday review about wireless headphones, which scared me because I have a wireless hearing device in both my ears all day. My audiologist says that the technology of wireless hearing devices is the newest trend and that all hearing aids are now being made this way. So I'm having a hard time finding ones that are not wireless, but I've been worried about the exact thing you talked about. Could my wireless hearing device be harmful to my brain? It's frustrating that so many doctors don't care or know about the science of EMFs, and it's even more scary that this huge industry is subjecting people to something which may take decades before they see the link to disease. I don't want my hearing aids to be the next cigarette smoking health risk. I'd love to know your suggestion on what I should do regarding these hearing devices. Thank you. Okay, happy to help with this. I do agree that hearing devices are going more wireless. There's a couple things you can do, and there's a couple things you should think about. One of the issues with the wireless headphones is that typically it's transmitting to one, and then it's beaming through your brain to the other. And it's doing that not just with the electromagnetic frequencies, but magnetic radiation as well. I talked about that on the previous podcast. We'll try to link that up if we can here today. But of course, you can always just go to stevencabral.com/podcasts and you can just search for wireless headphone and you'll be able to find it. Okay, so let's give you the straight answer. If they're not beaming back and forth to each other, it's less of an issue. And if that's the case, there are actually wraps for these wireless headphones that can deflect a lot of the EMFs. So go online and check out wireless headphone EMF deflectors. Okay, let's say that, because I don't have a particular brand for you right now. I'd have to do a lot more research on it. And then you'll want to see, for your hearing device, does one hearing device speak to the other? Because if it doesn't, then it's less harmful, probably, I can't tell you that for sure, than the wireless headphones. And then my last suggestion is this. Can you turn them off or take them off when you're not using them? So can you take them off at night while sleeping? Obviously that's a personal choice, right? You want to keep them on or off. What if you're at your desk during the day and you don't need to be taking calls or anything like that? Can you take them off? So it's just kind of thinking about how can you limit your time with them? And then when you are wearing them, how can you wear them in the safest way possible? All right. Let's see. We have Kristen up next. Hello, Dr. Cabral. Thank you for all your knowledge. I'm a 28-year-old and I have been dealing with gnawing and dull epigastric pain that causes nausea for a few years. This occurs at night, especially after a drink or two of alcohol or carbonated beverages. I used to take ibuprofen quite often for 4 years due to tension headaches, but haven't taken it in 5 years. I drink 2 to 3 cups of coffee daily. I feel like I had every symptom of H. pylori, but I did your stool test and it was negative. It just showed low bacteria counts. I've been taking the daily probiotic with no help. What do you recommend I do to ease this gnawing feeling? Okay, well, let's look at this from a couple different standpoints. Could it be high stomach acid or low stomach acid, right? So it's something to look at. So you're doing this, it's typically at night, right? This occurs at night, especially after a drink or two of alcohol. Okay, so if it's a drink or two of alcohol, what could that cause? Because I always like to use the variables. All right, so if it's mainly happening with carbonated or alcohol, could it be a histamine reaction? I know we mentioned it earlier in the show, but it's very common. It really is. So it could be, so there's different types of, think about it. When people take antacids, not every antacid works. Some of them are actually histamine blockers, and histamine blockers are the one that works, right? So I'm not recommending you do this, but if you took a histamine blocker, would it stop you from getting this pain? If the answer is yes, it's a histamine issue. That's why I don't mind if when I'm working with a private wellness client or my team is working with a private wellness client and I'm overseeing all the cases, they say, oh, well, I took this medication and it went away. Okay. Well, what does this medication do? Oh, this medication stops histamines in the stomach. Got it. When you take an antihistamine, you no longer have this particular issue. Okay, it's a histamine issue, right? So now how do we work with that naturally? Okay, we're going to rebalance the gut. We're going to use something like Hist Pro. We're going to do all the things naturally that would help to degrade histamines inside the body. That's one. Another one, let's see, let's give you another one. Could it be high stomach acid? All right, let's look at high stomach acid. Let's say it is high stomach acid. What we do in this particular issue? Well, if we believe it's high stomach acid, you wouldn't do this every night, but you could test it. And you would do a half a teaspoon of baking soda in some just room temperature water, stir it, wait till it stops fizzing, and then drink that. Does the stomach pain go away? Well, if the answer is yes, well, it just neutralized the stomach acid. Not great for digestion, but certainly eliminating the stomach acid. And could it be a sensitivity to alcohol? Could be, right? Could be a sensitivity to alcohol on the stomach mucosa, right? Could be very sensitive there. Maybe trying a product like Healthy Belly. Take 2 of those every single night after dinner. Could that help? Or during dinner? Could that help with the actual stomach mucosa that might be sensitive or inflamed? So all sorts of different things it could be. I think by even doing something like the 21-day detox, right? The 21-day detox over at equi.life, over at equalife, eco.life. And you did that and it went away for 21 days while doing the detox. Okay, you know then it's some food that you're using or some alcohol drink that you're using, and that could be a really nice game changer, because then you could just introduce one food at a time every 3 days to see if that is one of the culprits. All right. So Kristen, hopefully that is helpful. We've got one more question today from Lou. The results of the hair lab I took through Equalife and ARL showed a high level of mercury. Is that a worrisome level? And if so, what would you suggest I do about it? I do have numerous metal fillings that contain mercury, but I would prefer a bit more conservative approach than removing all tooth fillings. Thank you. All right. So one thing you have to understand is that if you're running the minerals and metals test through Equalife, it comes with a coaching call. So always do what your coach says. A lot of people email me or write into me like, hey, I ran this lab and what should I do? Remember, your coach knows way more about you than I do. Your integrative health practitioner knows way more about you than I do, right? So if I give you an answer that contradicts what your integrative health practitioner says, do what your integrative health practitioner says, not me, because they know your intake. They know who you are. For me, I would do the heavy metal detox, right? You have high levels of mercury, heavy metal. I want to get the heavy metals out of the body. I would first do the 21-day detox. If you've never done a detox before, open up the liver pathways. Then I would do the heavy metal detox. But again, your coach probably provided you with a much more in-depth plan. So I would do that. After you've done that, and if your mercury fillings are leaking, if you have them for 20 plus years, well, you might want to see a biological dentist. They're not going to remove them all at once. They might remove 1 or 2 at a time. And I believe the website, which I always confuse, but it's something like IAOR International IAORG. Let's find that out for you. I don't want to give you the wrong information. I don't even know what it is anymore. MG. Let's look at that. IAO biological dentist. We'll lurking this up together for our last question of the day. There it is. IAOMT.org. A great resource for globally how to find biological dentist that can safely remove mercury amalgams or silver fillings. All right. So hopefully that's helpful. Thank you so much, everyone, for tuning into the show today. I appreciate you, and I'll be back tomorrow answering more of our community's questions. Take care. Thanks so much for tuning into today's show. And before you go, I want to make sure that you know that this is the very last week of our semi-annual sale. That means that after this week, prices go back to their normal everyday price over at Equalife, and your ability to save up to 25% off store-wide goes away. So definitely head on over to equi.life and save up to 25% on your favorite nutritional supplements, wellness protocols, detoxes, at-home labs, and so much more. Plus, all this week, you'll be able to tune in for daily deals that are only found by heading on over to Equalife. That is equi.life. Check it out for up to 25% off this week while supplies last. Take care.